Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Yssah and Sean podcast, as well as our special, amazing guest of immense Mayan knowledge. Can you introduce him?
For sure. Well, some people shall already know him. He's crispy. And for those who don't yet, he is very focused into Mayan embodiment. So we have had the pleasure of knowing Crispy for a while now. Actually, I had the honor that he translated my Mayan embodiment and also Sean's before our trip to Mexico last year in October 2023. And in my experience, as you know, how I feel about a unified consciousness and bringing in all the information and wisdom of ancient civilizations, the importance of allowing ourselves to be holders and deliver this wisdom is quite important. So my resonance and our resonance with Crispy's knowledge is vast. So thank you for being here, Crispy.
It's an honor. I'm so glad you invited me. I'm very excited and happy to pass along the wisdom of the Maya, the Mayan calendar, and what we can call Mayan astrology, quote unquote. Although I would like to start off by saying that this is the Mayan calendar, and it's not related to the stars or the moon or the sun or the planets at all. It's basically DNA, as you can see on my wall behind me. And yet, at the same time, it is a fractal of the precession of the equinoxes, which is incredible.
Crispy, we would love to know what brought you to the Mayan knowledge.
Good question. Back in 1998, I was a DJ in Vancouver and going to these parties, and there was a lot of higher states of consciousness being reached and connected with large groups. And one day, one of the guys I was doing a lot of events with, we were planning events together, DJing together. He said, "Hey, I'm having a Mayan calendar workshop at my house." And it was in May of 1998. Not quite sure the date. It might have been the second or third weekend in May. And, it just, that was my original download and awakening. They told us about, there was a couple, a man and a woman. They told us about the DNA connection. And, they did everyone's Mayan birthdays. I went and got the tattoo 3 days later. So I was hooked. And then I started doing booths at the raves we were doing. And then around middle of 1999, there was this sort of, I don't know if you guys remember back then, it was 25 years ago, but there was sort of this meme about Y2K, the 1999 New Year's Eve switching into the year 2000, there would be this whole computer and banking glitch where none of the systems would be able to handle the 2000 because they'd all been programmed for 99 digit, not 2004 digits. So I kind of took that opportunity to sell everything I owned and go to Mexico. And my girlfriend and I, on August 31st, we left Vancouver. We went to the Burning Man. I DJ'd a lot there and did a lot of Mayan astrology for people. And then we continued down the coast. And I was standing on the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon at Teotihuacan for fall equinox that year, 1999. We spent about 7 months in Mexico, going to many, I think it was 13. I don't quite remember. our camera was stolen. We were actually robbed 4 times in those 6 months, 7 months. And we smashed our car on a rock, like destroyed our car 6 months and 1 day after we entered Mexico. And I know
You
that.
know what day was it in the Mayan calendar?
Don't actually. I haven't worked that out, but I know it was 1 day past the insurance on our car. So I know that.
Okay.
But we spent times at Palenque. I was there for winter solstice 1999, and I did a ceremony. And you know, the long count calendar, which is very famous, the 2012 date, December 21st, 2012. I was there 13 years before on that day. And it was interesting too, because I did a ceremony and got promptly kicked out by the guards. And the funny thing was that day, my girlfriend and I, we snuck in the back. There's a way to get into the pyramids at Palenque if you hike up this stream. And we'd actually taken some magic mushrooms, and we were nice and high and spent the day. And then, you know, it was getting around 4 o'clock, and the sun was starting to set. So I did my ceremony, and they came up to us and get out of here. And they made us leave through the front door, of course. And the whole front entranceway, which we hadn't seen, was a nativity scene. Full size, life size. There's a life size Joseph and a life size Mary and some lambs and 3 wise men and little baby Jesus. And I was like, what the bleep? It was so hilarious, you know, the Catholic overlay. And I'm so glad I didn't see that before I went in, because I would have been so all day. I would have been like, ah. But the ceremony was completed. And then 3 months later, I did a small ceremony at spring equinox at Chichen Itza, but there was about 40,000 other people, so I didn't get kicked out. So yeah, that was the Maya in, you know, the close of the previous century. Then I met my wife and, you know, moved to Japan, got married, had children, and the Maya really took a back seat, as it were. Although we named our daughter Maya. So I think about Maya every day. But about 5 years ago, I suddenly became intrigued again. And I started following it daily, and I started trying to learn more about it, because I had put everything on hold for quite some time. And I was reading one book, and there was a meditation regarding your there's a perspective called the Mayan Cross, and it shows your 4, I call them guides, you in the center, your 4 guides here. And I had been studying that for quite some time, and I couldn't internalize it. I couldn't memorize it. I couldn't figure out, if someone told me their Mayan birthday, there was no way I could guess in my mind what their guide glyphs and tones were. So I was sitting there in meditation one day, following the instructions in this book, and I got zapped with this, which is totally different to the Mayan Cross. It's not taught by the Maya at all, but it's me standing on my birthday. I literally felt my right hand being gripped tightly. My left hand was cradling, very gentle and opened. And I was thinking back to my past wisdom guide, and my eyes were on my future vision guide. The whole thing lasted approximately 1 second. Like, it was just blast. Oh, what the fuck? And it was gone. And it blew me away, because I am not a visual meditator. Like, I've been meditating for years. I've been to Vipassana twice, the 10-day meditation retreat. I've listened to maybe 100 hours of guided meditations. I don't get images, you know. I've had a past life regression where the person tried to hypnotize me and take me, you know, into the, and I don't see anything ever. And I've heard that's true of about 15% of people. Some people are very active visualizers and some are not. I feel things, you know, I'm an emotive, very feeling person, but I don't visualize. So to have this kind of blasted through, and I literally felt it in my body, was so extreme. And then, you know, I tried to actually tell, like I wrote the guy whose book I was reading. His name is Kenneth Johnson. He's written a couple famous books, Jaguar Wisdom and another Mayan astrology book. And I told him what happened, and you know, he said, okay. And I wrote another author who wrote this book. Where is she? I wrote her and I told her about it, and she was like, oh, that's interesting. But, you know, they basically said, well, it's your thing, man. And so I did more research, and there's nothing like it in the Mayan world. They don't teach it this way, but it's so now if anyone tells me their Mayan birthday, I can instantly figure out easily, and so can anybody else. That's the point. The rest of their guides. So that became Mayan embodiment, and I've been teaching that pretty actively for about 3 years now. You know, I've got the YouTube channel and my page on Facebook, and I do private readings. My book and website and app for the phone is in the works. Hopefully 2024 will be the year they are all available. And yeah, so I am very passionate about this, and the main reason being that it's an extremely healing modality, you know, because it's first of all based on human DNA, which also interfaces with the precession of the equinoxes. And because in many, many Mayan myths, they themselves say it came from the Pleiades. This is the galactic calendar. So it's very exciting to me, fascinating as it were. And I love doing readings for people. A lot of my videos are me doing a mini reading for, you know, famous people. And I do that because I do find it fascinating. And I want to fascinate other people. I want them to go, wow, you know. That's why I do the, you know, famous people Mayan birthdays. Any questions?
Do you want to ask something?
As I drink my reverence.
That's beautiful how you got into visions to organizing a system that allows you to memorize everything better than most people.
Yeah.
I'm interested in, and you talked about this before the show, where it's not quite astrology, but it's also what are all the different words you'd apply to it to make it more accurate based on your bringing it together?
Right. Well, I did a reading for a woman who's a rather famous Pleiadian channeler. Her name is Eva Marquez, and about a week after I did her reading, she texted me. She's like, "Oh my God, Crispy, I had this vision as I was waking up," and she told me all the whole story. And she was surrounded by Mayan elders saying that my work is, you know, valid and real, and my book will be helpful and successful. And she, I believe, told me it was called, or it I could call it soul cartography. So the map of the soul, or the plan of the soul, not the map of the soul, but where your soul's going, like what your soul came here to do in this lifetime. So, you know, the Maya, of course, believe in reincarnation. They have a deep and rich mythology around the, death as being an entry, a doorway into Xibalba. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. And then how basically the 9 lords of death are there to play games with us and to test us, absolutely. And, if we have sort of our wits about us, and if we have faith in our life, having the life we just lived, we can easily transcend and come back to life in another body. So, I think one of the most debilitating beliefs in the Western ideology, and by that I include basic Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, and Islam, is that we have this one life, and then when you die, it's the big judgment, and it's either eternity in heaven or eternity in hell. And that's just like such a horrible framework for reality. So reincarnation, being, I think, in most indigenous cultures, is like this freeing perspective that I'm here right now to improve my karma. The Maya also believe in karma, and they believe in the chakras and kundalini. So there's this whole wealth of wisdom that's interwoven into their culture, and I include that in what I teach. This is how I teach the chakras. This is the 13-day period of time that is often called a trecena, and that's a Spanish word meaning 13. And that is how I teach the chakras. So every person has a core self chakra connected to their progression. And of course, we all have all 7, and some glyphs, like your glyph, Isha, you're called reincarnation. Your glyph is connected to the crown chakra, and you are tone 1, so you're connected directly to the root chakra. So your root and crown are more active in your soul's progression, I would say. All 7 of them, and there may be more, and I'm not debating that, and I'm not saying there are only 7. But I do feel that this is, a very simple and valid way of teaching the chakras and chakra awareness.
I remember you once told me, because if we are talking about 7, then we're talking about mainly the physical body, right?
Right.
So, and even though each molecule, it's a portal, as you said, like keeping it basic, you know? So also I remember that once we were talking that this system that the Mayans created based on Pleiades and as all this wisdom that came to understand how to sort and navigate this matrix.
Right.
So would you say that with this Mayan calendar that can be achieved to understand how time works and functions in this reality, that each day related to a tone and related to a glyph? I would love for you to explain, because most people might not know what we're talking about what's tone, what's a tone, what's a glyph.
Yes. these are the tones, and the reason that I call them tones, not everyone does, is because there's also 13 tones in an octave on the piano. And what we're really talking about is vibration. It's not number as in quantity. So 2 isn't twice as much as 1. 2 is a different vibration. So tone 1, you could think of it as middle C, although that's pegging it to something that it's not. But tone 2 is a higher vibration of tone 1, and tone 3 is one step higher. So it's vibration, it's quantity, not quality. So I do call them tones. And then of course there's the 20 glyphs. Now, this is one famous way to see the 260 days of the Mayan calendar, but it's also very cyclic. Tone 1 going around, there's 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 bars. And then 11, 12, 13. And then the 20 glyphs, glyph 1 and glyph 20. So this is the way that it's a little bit easier to picture. And that's exactly what happened to me here. I saw myself inside the wheel of 20. So this, more so than this, shows us that time is actually cyclic. And so what happens at the top, and one of the reasons I don't put all the tones, so this would be, for me, this would be 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then it goes to 1. So what this actually is a bunch of them, meaning it's like a slinky or a spiral. It's not 2D, it's 3D. It keeps going like this. It's a spiral, okay? So the Maya naturally believe that. They don't believe in linear time. They can't even slow the mind down to think of time going in one line, They naturally feel this cyclic spiraling of time. And that's the other debilitating factor of Western, terminology is time is linear. So it's not that yesterday was before today, but it was a slightly different vibration, And our days, we're on this planet that spins about 24 hours, and so that's our day. But what does that mean? What does that mean to the universe or even to the galaxy? Nothing. However, 36,000 of these is exactly the length of the precession of the equinoxes, and that blows my mind. So this is a matrix. It is a fractal. It is a hologram. And wherever your birthday is on here is going to help you understand where you fit into, let's just say, the galaxy, the Milky Way. The universe, there's a couple million or billion galaxies in the whole universe. That's a little too big for me. Let's just focus on our Milky Way. And, this helps us fit into that, I believe. Do you know, by the way, the how the 260 came together and what the 13 and 20 means?
Well, I would love to hear it from you.
Okay,
You
so
going to say something.
I'll let him go.
this is 260 days, which is approximately a human gestation period. I believe it's almost 9 months. 29 multiplied by 9 is 261. 9 by 9 is 81, and then 9 by 2 is 180, and blah, blah, blah. So 261 days is 9 times 29 days. So this is approximately human gestation period. Additionally, the human body has 13 and 20 woven into it. 20 is very easy to figure out from all of those. I can't get them both up here. Barring accident or anomaly, every human being has 20 fingers and toes. So that's fairly simple. Okay, there's the 20. But the 13, we have a little bit harder time conceptualizing. However, it's also in our DNA. So ankle is 1, knee is 2, hip is 3, those 3 major joints. Shoulder 4, 5, 6 on the wrist, 7 on the neck, and another 3 and another 3. So this is actually the human body. Here's my head, and here's my arms, and there's my legs, and sometimes I put my hands like this. Woo! All right. 7th column is the central column. It's open. When I teach my students is you take in food and the food goes through and the food comes out your central column, which is true, you know, I'm not making this up. So the 1320, 20 very easy, 13 major joints of motion. So 1320 is in the DNA. This is my DNA, and this is DNA. So right there, I'm just like, oh my God, why would I even pay attention to anything else? And I can't. I don't understand other astrological systems. For me, the whole debate of the 13th, the 13th constellation, and then there's sidereal versus tropical. The whole thing, I'm just like, I can't even focus on it because I'm like, look at this. It's your DNA. And it's the precession of the equinoxes. So that's where I'm coming from.
Well, actually, yeah. Well, actually, I want to tell you something about that. When I started decoding that, what you showed, that
right.
Template, that
Mhm.
DNA template,
Yeah.
I came with the cube that the directions. Can you show it again, please? Crispy, can you show the template, please?
The one you
the DNA?
Or this?
Yes.
Yeah.
You see all the one colored in gray.
Yes.
And they are generating a specific motion.
Right.
Like from inside to outside, from outside to inside, from inside to outside, from outside. You know,
yes.
like in such a precision, and they are all summing. They like if you add them up,
right,
all of them are in between 9 and 13, which is the 9 Lord of Shivalva and the 13 tones. Yes, above and below.
Okay, right.
And
there's
if
50
you add,
by the way.
yes, but you know, like what I did was like the value of each one of them, what it adds up, you know.
Okay.
So it's a very, very complex system that is equal in between 9 and 13, and if you add up 9 plus 13 is 22,
right,
and 22 is also related to the mitochondria DNA for the 22 genes that transfer the RNA.
right.
So bottom line, I won't get too into, but it's quite related to the galactic DNA because the mitochondria DNA is that microorganism that came, that aerobial microorganism that came, and aerobic microorganism that came into an anaerobic microorganism, made symbiosis together, and then created what we know today as a cell that is present in our body. So the mitochondria is a microorganism that comes from outer space, and it has a different DNA, the galactic DNA. In each one of our cells, we have 2 DNAs, the cell DNA and the mitochondria DNA.
Wow, awesome.
DNA.
Well, let me ask you guys, off topic, but what do you feel about how we were created? Do you think there was alien intervention? Let me just put that out there. Go.
Yeah. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I can go first.
I don't know. Is yours one long? Because I haven't heard.
Let's go, man.
How about
Stretch it out.
yeah, well, this is based on like what I read from interaction and so many clients' DNA, and then it going back. It's a big one. Okay, so yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Not putting belief on anyone, so feel free to just put it on the shelf. With at least DNA evidence, I read that we're a giant human experiment going on with this planet Earth Mother with a bunch of light beings at its inception, gods, positive ET groups at the beginning, and then lured in for various macro expressions of remedy for the whole the multiverse to resolve drama, karma, and wars and bring them all to peace. Eventually bring the dark genetic lines that would then mass to where we're a combination of light and dark genetics for over 10,000 plus species combined together, with which most of the darks and a lot of neutral species were introduced with the Anunnaki because they went around collecting DNA, and they're not just one species. It's like a royal lineage of what like Anton Parks translated as like a matching group between the royal families of Syrian B and Orions, which were also geneticists and traveled around getting DNA. So they were super hybrids in themselves. So they could shapeshift into multiple races. It showed itself in the Anunnaki shapeshifting, the Egyptian gods shapeshifting, the Greek shapeshifters, Japanese, the serpent people, the winged eagle people, the various dog, feline races, and all combined together. And then we have this smut super hybrid-esque, but like lowered down, allowed to be turned into slaves, and then our ascension after descension back up to bring it all that drama up to remedy.
Right. Beautiful. Isha.
Well,
Mike.
thank you. Well, in relation to what Sean was mentioning about all these species, for me, it's very important to say that, for instance, all the glyphs that now Nahuales and the species that also the Egyptian, like, like
Yes.
photos, like it's very easy to rely on humans' creativity.
Okay.
Like to say, yeah, they got one night very creative,
right,
and then they start to relate all their mythos based on their creativity, their imagination. Well, that's one way to see it. Another one is that they were all the time creating statues, replicating what they saw, right? Like of the pharaohs, of the kings, of the leaders, making all these statues.
Right.
Then, because we used to replicate what we see, right? As the kids, as the little boys, Exactly. For instance, what does a little boy or a little girl draw? What he or she sees. It's simple, as you say, it's very simple, and we can only draw what we see. If not, ask the blinds, like people that are blind and were born blind.
Right.
They get to, and this hybrid, what Sean was talking about, the hybrid.
Okay.
Like the blind, the people who is blind from their ever since they like when they were born blind, they get to draw in geometries.
Okay.
because that's what they see. That's
Ah,
what they feel. That's what they perceive.
yeah.
And well, for instance, if we go from Mayans to Egyptians to Sumerians to Nabateans, which are the people that were located in Jordan, and we get to compare all the texts of creation, these ancient textbooks, and how everything was created, it all matches. It
Right.
is all entangled, you know?
Sure.
And for me, it's very important to, first one thing is I I studied fashion design. I
Okay.
studied. And for me, it was from the very beginning, I wouldn't like to listen or to see other designer creations because then I would say that I was being slightly influenced
Yeah.
by what they were dictating.
Yeah.
So as for fashion, for now, I've always have done my best to base what I say on my memories,
Right.
what I remember, you know. So ever since I was a little girl, I come from a very Catholic family, at least my mom is, and she would always talk about the creation of Adam and Eve.
Okay.
And then listening to science and saying yes, the missing link, and I was saying, come on, Adam is the missing link, you know, like we had, you know, like Homo erectus, and all of a sudden, ta-da, we have Adam. He
Yeah.
is the missing link. Someone created him, and my mom would stare at me like saying like, yeah, right, yeah, like you watch too much science fiction, you know,
Yeah.
like less science fiction on your doses, and that's it. So, and then I started to go deeper and deeper in those memories, and I would like remember and write what I remembered,
Right.
and then all these scientific texts will come. Mostly now. Back then, it was like all about Darwin's theory on the human's evolution.
Sure.
Now that has been officially um, known as that's not the true origin of human.
Right.
Scientifically proved. Like they have taken from the Neanderthal DNA,
Yes.
and it doesn't match with human DNA.
Link.
Actually, they were coexisting, you know, human was already there, you know,
Yeah.
it was coexisting.
Right.
So, yeah, like if we look at the DNA and all of that, I was talking about the mitochondria, I was talking about, and there is a lot of potentially genes to be explored within our DNA.
Right.
Origin.
So if we say how we have all this DNA that is still not expanded,
Or functioning or something.
functioning,
Yeah.
it has been shown that it has been capped. You know,
Right.
there are chromosomes that were capped. Who capped them?
Right.
What we knew as God, probably.
Sure.
Chromosome 2 looks like two spliced together retrotransposable elements, or like
Wow.
snipping of genetically engineered evidence for you know augmentation or genetics.
Sure.
Different, what is it, bio was it phages, there's like bacteriophages.
Right.
There's like genetic code to that's added to our genetics that
Okay.
have different functions such as limits, and have been expressed, have been added to us throughout our evolutionary history and do different effects. At least with what I tune into it, a lot of it is like farmer um, herding their cattle.
Okay.
We see it nowadays. We are cloning.
Right.
We are trying to get babies from a pod,
Yeah.
you know, and by we, I say humanity, you know,
Right.
it's like, so
Yeah.
we are replicating continuously, you know, it's cycles, those are cycles. So from where we could have inferred that that's possible. You know, if it happened once, it will happen twice unless you become aware of. So this is the breaking point, and I believe that we come as that human race comes definitely from a manipulation,
Right.
genetic manipulation of galactic species that came to Earth
Right.
to try to amplify their capabilities of evolution.
Right.
And now we are embodying as those galactic beings in human bodies
Right.
to try to make it better,
Yeah.
to do something about.
Well, I
We're
love.
definitely a natural species that was here,
Sure.
and then they added stuff. Continue.
Yes.
I love your perspective on it, Sean, that the whole thing is about bringing peace and harmony. You know, I think there's a lot of truth to what we're calling the Orion Wars, and you know, our generation has been, I would say, force-fed or perhaps spoon-fed. Some of us have eaten it up like Cheerios every morning. The whole reality of Star Wars, you know, and Star Trek is a little bit less war-oriented, but you know, we've come to understand that the whole universe is alive and there's creatures everywhere and they've been here or are still here, and we might be ascending to where we will go out to other young planets, as it were. So, you know, I love that whole perspective. Um, at the same time, I don't know if I'll ever leave this planet. Am I ever going to get on a ship and go somewhere? I don't know. I'm maybe, maybe not. All I do know is I am here in this body. You know, I've got my wife, I've got my children, I've got you guys, I've got my friends, and I've got to get along. I've got to bring peace and harmony into my life right now. You know, I think a lot of us, especially in the last maybe decade or two, the term starseed has been popularized, and it's great. I love it. I am one for sure. But the potential or the, you know, the distraction is to ignore your life here and just focus on, you know, all this other stuff. And you have to be in this body fully, you know. That's what I believe, and that's part of the Pleiadian message also, by the way. So that ties it back in with me. The Pleiadians represent ascension, you know, in their first book, at least from Barbara Marciniak, Years of the Dawn. She said, you know, we are the Pleiadians.
We have a long history. Our ancestors came from another universe that had achieved completion, a universe. You are simply working on a planet coming to completion, and we are here to help you with that task.
They're trying to help us transcend individually. And what that means, transcending means getting over your own drama. It means transcending your own shadow, or, you know, you could say embracing your shadow, or what's another term?
Embracing your lower self so your higher self can come more in your body.
That's it, you know? So not trying to escape from anything, not trying to run away. Integration, right? So that's a big part of the Pleiadian message, and it's a big part of what I teach. Like each one of these has a dark side, you know. There's a shadow challenge with each tone, and there's an ego drama with each glyph that I teach my clients, you know, what their likelihood of stumbling blocks might be.
And we would love for you to give us an example. Before, I would like to add to what you said about the importance of bringing all of that here, like embodying this reality. When Quetzalcoatl gave the corn seeds,
Right.
speaking about seeds,
Yes.
he brought those seeds
Yes.
for us to nourish from that information and harvest it here in Earth.
Yes, indeed. That's deeply interwoven into the Mayan mythology as well. In the Popol Vuh, they say that the creators made us from corn, and they taught us how to plant corn and taught us how to worship. And, so in a way, the Maya, through the corn harvest, and this is another rather cool thing. Some corn, not all corn, takes 260 days to harvest. So no matter what day they planted on, they would harvest it that same day, 260 days later. Not all corn, but a lot does. So there's another connection there, which is pretty
And
cool.
if each one of those, I'm sorry, but if each one of those squares
Yes.
is also a birthday of one human, that then represents, and actually it's the proof of the entangled universe that we are all one,
Indeed.
because they are all present in the DNA.
Right.
In your DNA.
We all together make up human DNA. There's a huge amount of inclusion. And, the Mayan phrase, Een Lak'esh Alak'in, I believe the best translation for that is, I am you, you are me, we are one Godshiousness. That's what I teach my clients. I don't use the word God because that's so heavily attached to all these other, attachments. So I use Godshiousness because it's not a being. It's not an old guy with a beard on a throne. But yeah, so we are one, and we are gods. We are the creators. We are the source.
Yes, we are.
So
Okay, so shall we?
Yeah, one of the things I love to do is teach my clients, first of all, their own Mayan birthday, but then how that relates to other people. So I have made a PowerPoint for you two today, which I would love to share.
Please.
And I will share my screen. And here it is. Let's go into the first slide. First, I'll talk about my wife and I. I had known my wife for about 15 years. We'd been married for about 13 years, and we had our dramas and our, challenges, absolutely. But the one day that I figured out this connection between the two of us, it instantly dissolved so much of my own blockages with her. And let me explain what that is. So this is me. I am 7 Eagle, called Reflecting Eagle, and I have offering as my divine masculine guide. And my wife is offering. So she therefore has eagle as her divine feminine guide. So instantly, as soon as I learned that, I dropped all this drama that I had between us, because, she has these qualities that I used to find irritating, that used to bug me. Her masculinity used to bother me. For example, with the children, if they're late for school, she'd go to the bottom of the stairs and shout, "Get out of bed!" Like this angry old guy, I used to think, right? Whereas I would walk up the stairs and go in to shake their foot and say, "Good morning, wake up, it's time for school." You know, that's just the way I am. And which is kind of more feminine, and her approach is more masculine. Well, guess what? She's my masculine guide, and I'm her divine feminine guide. So right there, as soon as I learned that, it absolutely dissolved any resistance I had to her masculinity. And, you know, she knows I'm a little bit more of the nurturing one with regards to the children. Now, it also happens that our son, Toa, he is my divine feminine guide. And, you know, I'll just tell a quick story. I took him into a pet store one day in Tokyo when we lived there. And we were looking at the pets and sitting down. And we went into the dog section and we we're sitting down in the middle. And he started crying. And I was like, oh my goodness, you know, like, and he was primarily a Japanese speaker at this point. So it was hard to get out of him his what was beneath his tears, you know. But I came to understand that sure, all humans have divine feminine and divine masculine qualities. And so he is one of my teachers about femininity. And then for my wife and him, they are in their past and future positions. So big connection there. Now, I'll just point out that one of the most fascinating things about Mayan astrology for me is that it allows for the combination of two people. Because this is based on DNA, you can combine two people to make a third entity. And so this is what represents my wife and my combination. And I could go through this and describe all the connections. Here's my tone 7 there, and here's her tone 5 there. She's an empowering offering, and I'm a reflecting eagle, and we both have those in our combined astrology. But I'm not going to focus much on that. Here's the whole family. My daughter, by the way, is harmonizing obsidian mirror. So she is not in either of our charts. There's some overlap with some of the tones, but because my wife and son and I are the blue and the red, we don't have white or yellow in our charts. So my daughter is more individualistic, and I would say that is completely true. So now,
No comment to speak.
what's that? Question? All right.
Now, continue, you were saying?
Now I'll get on to you guys. Sean, this is you. You are called an activating serpent. So that comes from being tone 3. And tone 3 is called activating, which is directly connected to the solar plexus chakra. And then the serpent is actually very connected to all 7 chakras because of Kundalini, which the Maya had a word for. It was in their vocabulary before the Spanish arrived. And here's your other guides. You've got manifesting rainstorm for your divine masculine guide, which actually the rainstorm glyph is quite femininely charged. It's connected to midwifery. It's connected to what you would call a death doula, and all the feminine roles in the Mayan society. And then tone 10 is manifesting. It's the 2 hands working together, making deals, holding hands, you know, it's partnership, and it's very solid, very stable. So that's your outer self.
Lovely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We just recently, her dad said that it's been having quite a drought in Mexico. So we're like, oh, let's figure out why. Because I've always been quite good at making it rain.
Oh, nice.
And there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the rain gods, and so I was helping them out, and it started raining the next day, and then it's been raining for 8 days. So
Oh, manifesting rainstorm. So you're
Yes.
already living you're embodying your Mayan life. That's fascinating. Your youth, basically up to age 13, would be harmonizing Gaia. And Gaia again represents, the earth spirit, so Mother Nature. So, the energy behind all life on earth. It's big. It's a lot. Over to your divine feminine, patient monkey. So 9 again is tone 9 represents the 9 months of gestation. So very feminine energy there. And the monkey is creativity and play and performance. So your inner self, your yin and your more intimate self has a feminine quality, but also very playful and creative and artistic and, wants to be on stage, as it were. The monkeys, they're not shy. So for you to just be yourself, like an intimate self, is to be playful and creative and artistic. And then your future vision guide, which is going to come more into play after age 39. There's 3 cycles of 13 that bring in more of the future vision. And then definitely by age 42, this will come more into play. And resolving corn. Now, corn is the one glyph that is more masculine in your chart. So gradually you'll become more of this provider. As we mentioned, corn is probably the most sacred plant to the Maya. It may have come from the Pleiades or, Quetzalcoatl. And it represents these pillars of light coming from the earth. And then there's that line in the middle, which is the actual earth. And then pillars of light coming from the heavens. And people born on corn and whoever has corn in their chart, it's like they're standing on that line. The pillars of light are coming up. They're standing here and they are connecting the energy from the heavens to the earth. It also represents cane, like sugar cane, and reed and bamboo. So it's these plants that support human life, the family, the home. And then my little quirk is showing that tone 11, if we also conceive of it as being technically upside down, the Maya would show it with the dot on top. Oh, look at that celebration there. Who did that? We can add a lot of information requiring balance and also discernment. So to not get distracted by unnecessary things, to not be engaging in energy with people who are not on your path. Your path is straight up, bringing in the energy. And like I said, that's going to be your future vision. Any other comments about that?
beautiful. Yeah, I also love to create things that help solve things. So that probably goes with the corn. Uh, so yeah, thank you very much. It sounds a lot like me, so it feels like it's very well put together. Thank you for this. Yeah, we're pretty good with that.
It is my pleasure. So let's move on. And Isha, this is the one I prepared for you a while back. And I'll just put that there for now. So you are tone 1, which is the initiator. And your glyph is called reincarnation. Some Mayan regions just call it death. But the Maya don't believe in death as an ending like the Western word death. So they definitely believe in reincarnation. It's also transformation. It's the movement through cycles. I think it's so cool that the term initiating combined with reincarnation. Well, how do you initiate reincarnation? Well, you die. So you die to your old way of being and you are reborn, which is quite fascinating. Now, Sean, I jumped right to your divine masculine, but Isha, I'm going to do yours in order, starting with the past wisdom guide, because it's tone 6 and your divine feminine is 7. Your divine masculine is 8, and your future vision is 9. And that's the way for everyone. I'll just back up here quickly, Sean, to show you yours. Oops, that's the other way. So Sean, you're born on 3 and you have 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's the way it is for everyone. Whatever tone you're born on, you add 5, and that comes to your past wisdom. And then 6, 7, 8. You add 5, 6, 7, 8 to your birth tone, and that's the order. So I do teach them in that order. So you have the balancing obsidian mirror and knife, Isha, as your childhood or youth and early adolescence information imprint. Again, balancing is that role of bola, so a need for balance. And also with both the role of bolas, either the double stacked of tone 11 and the single stacked of just tone 6, what it means is performance again. It's like, I'm getting up on this thing to show off a little bit. And if you fuck up, you're going to be on your ass. But there's definitely a performance aspect to it. Now, the mirror knife is about precision, and it's about there's a lot of healing energy to it, and also there's a warrior energy to it. Especially in the past with the Maya, you know, they used obsidian for war. So there's some energy of that in your past. Did that bring up anything for you?
Well, it is very interesting because I have always had a lot of connection literally with the obsidian, you know, like the rock, the obsidian.
Yes.
I have I can deliver a lot of not only ceremonies, but you know, like to use it at a very complex form. Right. And all this inner wisdom about how to use the obsidian mirror, you know, have always been inherent to me. Okay. I have always also a knife. It's like it connects me. Right. And now that you mentioned that warrior part, every time that I go to ancient sites, I get these really sharp, simple messages from the warriors in the sites. Beautiful. Yeah, that one of the messages that I mostly remember and bring in constantly is it was actually from the serpent, like the guardians. Okay. And it was about the warriors, that the strength of a warrior is measured through the temperance of its heart.
Interesting. Wow.
Like that's the true strength of a warrior, the temperance of its heart. Beautiful.
High energy. And I'll come a little bit more to that with your divine masculine guide, but let's move up to tone 7 and your divine feminine guide, reflecting traveler. The traveler is the one that I call the happy camper. They are on the move. They like to keep moving and keep talking. They love talking about where they've been and what they learned and where they want to go. So the tone 7 again taps into your crown chakra. So your divine feminine, you're just being naturally intimate, is this sunny, bright, traveling, you know, you want to share your wisdom, which is I think very true. I think you are very, very much in your divine feminine all the time. Any comment there?
Well, for sure. Like we were just talking about our next trip, and the possibility and hopefully for you to join us. So yeah, for me, love, I am passionate about expanding and receiving, because
Okay.
it's a both way interaction from the codes of the places of these ancient and sacred sites,
Yes.
because it's a lovely way to remember. It's a lovely way to remember and to access to those seeds that we ourselves planted some
Right.
moment in other bodies and in other lifetimes.
Yes, indeed. All right, so now let's get back to the warrior a little bit. Going over to your divine masculine, we're going into the Mayan birthday of HUNUH, the king of Palenque, who maybe some people don't know, but he was the king for 68 years of Lacamha, which later became called Palenque by the Spanish. But he was born into war. His father was murdered in war when he was about 3, I believe. And this is, I think he was born in the year 612. I would have to quickly do a check. So around the year 600 of Common Era. So about 1200 years ago. 1400 years ago, sorry. And he and his mother fled the city as refugees to escape, being slaughtered, as it were. He later came back when about 5 years later, at the age of 8, he and his mother came back to Lacamha, which is Palenque. And she assumed kingship, as it were, leadership of the city. And then he, Inishanapaka, was made the king when he was 12 years old. There was still war happening from the serpent tribes. Neighboring cities were trying to take over. And he went into battle many times. And I'm not sure at what age, but he restored peace to the region, made peace with the serpent people. They respected his city and they stayed in their territory. And he stayed the king until he died at age 80. And what you can see behind your empowerment circle here is the Temple of Inscriptions where he was buried. And that's where I did my ceremony in 1999. And boy, oh boy, would I ever love to be there with you two and a whole bunch of travelers. Oh my goodness. So there's that energy of the warrior. He, by any means, was trying to create peace, and that meant he had to go into war. So how does that sit with you, my friend?
Well, again, it suits very well. It is very synchronized to my ways, because when I go like all this part of reincarnation and starting, it involves like huge amounts of inner peace,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then using all that force to derive the energy into a very specific target or a very specific point. And one of the things that tuning into him that I admire and that I is that capability of bringing all that knowledge,
Right.
and for it to be now
Yeah.
so you know. So, and I believe that that's a quality that of how, you know, knowing how to use your strength and your force, you know, like through that inner and then going, like fully going, what you were mentioning.
Right.
He likes to have conversations with strangers that develop with the question, do you believe in reincarnation?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Going directly to the phone.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, are we going to have a conversation or no? If you say no, I'm just like, come on, I'm out of here. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I also do it that, you know, innerly, you know, like straight to the point, and then which is really nice.
Yeah.
It's helped me a lot.
Okay, let's move on to your future vision guide, which Sean shares that tone 9 being representing of the birthing process, the 9 months of gestation. And you are with the jaguar shaman, the patient jaguar shaman. So again, definitely age 42, could be starting age 39, but it's there your whole life, you know. It comes more into play, certainly from 42 to 52. And some Mayan astrologers say that you become this glyph and tone. I don't say that. I say you always will be initiating reincarnation, but definitely your future vision guide pulls more energy in as we get older because we clear up the dramas of the male and female, and we hopefully have gotten over our challenges of our childhood, you know. If we don't, if we're in drama with the childhood energies or with the male and female thing, we can't really become our future vision self anyway. So if we have been doing the work and if we are at peace with our childhood, which means at peace with our parents, and if we are at peace and in harmony and in balance with our own innate femininity and masculinity, then naturally the future vision is going to be more important. So certainly the jaguar shaman, the healer, that's what they do. And patient has such a, you know, it's not just patient, right? So picture a jaguar, you know, waiting to maybe catch something. It's waiting. It's not patient just sitting there, la la la. No, it's like I've got all this energy. I'm gonna do what I need to do when I need to do it, right? So there's a lot of intensity there with the patient tone anyway. It's not just about sitting there and tapping your toe. There's a persistence and there's a perseverance. And then, of course, the jaguar shaman is a very intense energy. There's a lot of singing to it. Tone 9 is directly connected to the throat chakra, right? And jaguar shaman, they must sing. They're shapeshifters, they're healers, they go into Shibalba to bring back these souls. So, and I'd like to point out that everyone who's born on reincarnation, such as you, has jaguar shaman for their future vision guide. So deep connection between, you know, this death and return and the shaman who goes into Shibalba to rescue souls. So this just thrills me. I just got, I don't know if you can see that, but all the hairs on my arms just stood up when I explained that to you. And this happens to me all the time. Like whenever I do a reading for someone, I just get so charged. It's so exciting.
Beautiful.
Any comments about your future vision guide?
Yeah, definitely. For instance, it fulfills the cycle because reincarnation, from my experience, it takes, you know, like boom, you know, like most just taking the energy and going for it.
Right.
And you just mentioned the patience,
Yeah.
and which is using that energy to fully go, yet, you know, like controlling the
Yeah.
pulse, you know, the rhythm, which goes perfectly with harmonizing solar Like, and the reflecting traveler, because it's like connecting dots, weaving. So all put together, it's that mastery of, because you mentioned a wide spectrum of what Jaguar represents at the shaman, you know, like that. So it's the full spectrum. And shaman, I recall that I once told you that shaman means the northern star.
Okay.
So it's like we are heading, like they call the northern star, you know, in the full
Right.
map, the shaman.
Wow. I did not know that actually. Or maybe I forgot if you told me. So
Very yeah.
the star by which we guide ourselves, you know, that everything else revolves around in a way.
Yes, and you see the eye in the glyph, and I always get to draw
Right.
the eye. I mean the omnivision. You know, it's like
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
how more perfect it can get. You know, the omnivision key, which is a huge symbol for me, a huge code for me, which is the eye.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
look. Also, yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the combination of the two of you. So what I do for my clients, just to make things, there, yes, of course.
Omnivision key. I mean, I don't know if you can see very well the eye, but here you will
Certainly
see.
can. Yep. Awesome. And is this your book?
Yes.
Cool.
And this is in Spanish, and now I have already finished it in English. I'm just about to publish it this
Good.
year, sure.
Super. All right. So one of the things I do for my clients is I just simplify things by using this Da Vinci code, as it were. And it puts the glyphs facing upright and it puts the tones there. It's a little easier to understand. So this is the exact same thing as I just showed you before with your empowerment circles. And what I'll just point out is that initially you two have tone 8 in that position here. It's on both of your masculine sides. Isha, the divine masculine guide and the past wisdom is the right hand, meaning the left mind, and the left hand side, your future vision and your divine feminine is the left hand, so the right mind. And so that tone of harmonizing is there for both of you in the masculine side. And come along here. And then you both have tone 9 being that feminine tone of the gestation and the 9 months of the Mayan calendar. Being patient, you both have that on your feminine side. So that's the major connection between you guys. Because Isha is white, this is the spiritual body. And Sean, the blue glyphs are the, oh, sorry, you're over here. I brought in the third one of you already here. Let me go back. No, go back, go back. Sean, you are a red glyph, meaning more physically oriented. You're in the body, and especially the serpent is very, oh, there's a party going on behind me. Someone invited me for that. Wow. The serpent is so sensual, you know, like just slithering along the ground naked. I wonder if you've ever done that. Do that on the beach, maybe. But it's very, very physical. And then your divine feminine and masculine are blue, so meaning emotional. So that's your primary mode, or you know, the primary way you process information is physical and emotional. And Isha, you being white, your primary means is spiritual, and then your divine feminine masculine is the fire, so the mind, the thinking mind. So you guys cover all 4 bases there. Now, here comes the combination of you two. When you add the 6th glyph plus the 5th glyph, you get the 11th glyph, which is the monkey. Now, Sean, you already have the monkey as your divine feminine, and the two of you create a monkey. So that is such a powerful combination. Basically, what this means is the more that you are your inner self, the more harmony you will have with Isha. Your relationship is the monkey. So it's fascinating to me. Now, I'm going to put all of us away here because I have a bunch of more connections to draw between you. As I mentioned, here's tone 8 and tone 9. That's already there. Now let's start looking at what's coming up from the combination of you, which I call Ishan, by the way. Not very creative. I think anyone could have come up with that. So, oh my goodness, look at all these interconnections. Starting with Sean, you've got Gaia as your past wisdom guide. And for all monkeys, Gaia is their divine feminine. So huge connection there. Here's the rainstorm. Look at that, is your divine masculine guide, Sean, and it's the future vision guide of all monkeys. We've got tone 9 here for stabilizing monkey. I forgot to mention tone 4 is called stabilizing. So the two of you combine. Tone 1 plus tone 3 simply makes 4, called stabilizing. Then we've got serpent here. You are the serpent, Sean, and your divine masculine of the monkey is the serpent. So again, the more divinely masculine the two of you are together reinforces Sean's individuality. We've got tone 11 here. So as I was saying with tone 11, this is for performance. It's also for mastery. It also demands balance. So the two of you acting together in your divine masculinity is for performance and balance and sensuality. You know, there's the chakras are there, the physical intimacy is there. Very powerful connection. Tone 9, as I mentioned, is right here in Sean, and also the past of the stabilizing past is tone 9. And then we've got tone 10, which is Sean's manifesting rainstorm, is also the divine feminine combination of you two. So huge amount of interconnections between the two of you. And, you know, here's your empowerment circle back to, you know, the inside the middle of the spiral. And you can see all of those terms for each of the glyph and tone combinations right there. So that's basically the whole PowerPoint. And I'll go back to our regular screen. Of course, when I do this for clients, you know, it ends up being a 3-hour Zoom just to explain all those things. And there's a long document with all of the terminology and everything. But is there anything did that bring up anything for you all right now?
Yes, a lot. I'm still, you know, like what the things that from all the information that you shared with us, because I will go through the video again, of course. It's like how together, like individually and together, we complete all the tones.
Yeah.
You know, the 4 colors.
Yeah, the 4 colors, the 4 bodies.
Yes.
Yeah.
4 bodies. And like how together it's beautiful. It's like creating such a melody in between the tone, the tones and the glyphs.
Yes.
And it's like all of the glyphs are the ones that Sean already has, except for one.
Right.
And for me,
Dusk.
that
Dusk
would,
is the only one that's not in there.
which one?
Dusk.
Dusk.
Yeah, that's the only one that's not in Sean's chart. So there's a huge amount of connection.
And like what most of the ones that he had on one side, by being together, they come on the other side. So it's
Right.
like full completion when it comes together. And for me, integrating a
Yeah.
whole, you know, aspect of those.
Right.
And yeah, I will turn into more of that, but it's beautiful. It's so interesting. And yeah,
Well, I'll send you the PowerPoint with these images.
yeah,
That'll help
please.
you. So basically, you know, Sean being the serpent in the body and having the emotions here, Isha, you're going to be able to tap into the emotions and the body through your relationship with Sean. Now, it's a little easier to do this with two people who are lovers, as opposed to, for example, you know, a parent and child, which I do these readings for any two people. I don't like to do them for more than two people. It gets so complicated. It's too multidimensional. But you know, I've done them for parent and child. And like I showed you with my family, the four of us, I showed all the interconnections. Basically, what this perspective allows us is to see things from a new lens, and I would say a higher perspective. You know, I call this soul cartography, and it's like how we navigate our life, our map, what we're going to do and when, and it's just showing so much interconnection between any two people that to me, I know it's what I'm here to do on Earth. I'm here to help people make tighter interconnections between, you know, their loved ones. And it's thrilling to me to be able to provide that for people.
Yeah, I wanted to ask some questions for the fans to get intrigued about reading on the soul cartography thing.
Yeah.
Like for couples, for instance.
Right.
How were you able? Well, you can tell me whatever you want, as well as if you don't know, that's fine.
Yeah.
I tune into that there are at least potentials. You might already answered this, so hey, wonderful. For the ability to read aspects for how loves can express more love, and then shown in the chart for how they, you know, are doing and their compatibility.
Okay. Well, one of the things I didn't mention at all with you guys is that, you know, there are the darker elements or the shadow elements for each tone and each glyph. And what I do is uh, when I'm with my clients, I highlight those elements and we do talk about them. And there is a process to shine the light into that darkness and bring them out. And my understanding of human psychology is the only thing that keeps people apart is their own shadow of, you know, their own past. Basically, the shadow is from, you know, either what we brought through from a past life or what things that happened to us in childhood and we haven't overcome them, we haven't forgiven them, to be very blunt. So what I like to highlight is the potentials that just come from this system. Now, there's no way to look at your birthday on here and find out the trauma that would have happened to you, but there are propensities and likelihoods, you know, irrespective of what anything happened to a person growing up. So, you know, I help people find those things and like I said, shine the light on them and heal those problems. Once we heal the problems, we can form a much closer relationship with anyone, with everyone, really. You know, it's only our traumas that keep us sitting back away from people at all. And when we've healed those, we can approach anyone with, you know, authenticity. So I help people become more authentic. That's what I feel. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Just wondering, like, how does it spell out some of the journey that the two individuals might be in for?
Right. Okay. Good question. There we need to be a little bit flexible when we look at, for example, you know, past wisdom guide. It's not your first 13 years of life anymore. It might be your prior relationships you two had with other people, right? So we need to be a little bit flexible about the terminology. It could also be the day you met. Like if you know the date, you can look at the Mayan date on that day. Like I happen to know I met my wife April 7th, 2001, and that was empowering seed. She is empowering offering, and together we make understanding seed. So, you know, there's a little bit of an undeniable connection there. So if you two know the date that you actually physically met the first time, it could also be online. I don't know. It's up to you, but you can check the Mayan calendar for that day, and it will add information to the formation of your relationship. So a little bit of flexibility, you know, more so than here. Here, your past wisdom guide, that's pretty much established as to being either your past life energy, your karma you brought through, or what you learned in the first 13 years of life in general, right? From your parents, from your grandparents, also from other cultures. Then your divine feminine, divine masculine, that's pretty clear. Now, with regards to two people, their divine feminine is going to be their most intimate connection. All right. So what we look at is person A, person B, how they relate to the divine feminine of the third entity, right? It's complex. There's a lot going on. It's not simple addition. It's multiplication and division and integers and, you know, it's fun though. And again, like I said, there's a dark side of each glyph and tone. We can look at the dark side of the divine feminine, and that might bring out what's blocking, you know, and especially if there is a tone connection or a glyph connection. If someone, the same way I can find an issue with your core self. So I'm 7 eagle. Tone 7 represents the top of the pyramid. So one of our dark sides is this hyper competitive superiority. We just feel like we are the best. We're up here, and you know, like that's my dark side, and I'm very guilty of that occasionally. All right, I haven't totally overcome it. And the eagle, the dark side of the eagle is escapism. And it's like, fuck you guys. So, you know, I'm very aware of those things. Now, those qualities also apply to over here. So I can find anyone's dark side with their divine masculine. What's stopping you from embodying your divine masculine? If we look at the issues for, you know, for me, it's tone 1. So major issue for tone 1 is incompletion, not following through. We're great at starting, but then it's like, oh God, you know. And then the offering, which is my wife, by the way, as I said, you know, these are the people who make prayer, who give offerings. They're in tune with karma. They like to give and receive. And so a drama for those people is just disrespect. It's like, that guy, you know, or so if you put those together, it's like incompletion due to disrespect, right? That would be my block for embodying my divine masculinity. So I can do that for the whole thing. It's fun and potentially exhausting. I have to do a lot of clearing. I'm quite good at. So I generally get very energized from doing a reading for someone. I have had numerous crying moments with a client, you know, like I am willing to go there with anyone. You know, I've had clients who've had all the possible traumas we can imagine, you know, and I'm ready to go there with people. And you know,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, like, if there is a specific technique that you use besides translating the Mayan embodiment, besides channeling and reading it, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
Like, from your experience, is there a technique also that you would like to mention, or to, because you say that you go with them, you know, with all your clients?
Right. I have a very specific forgiveness ritual that I do with my clients, and it's based on an experience that happened to me at my second Vipassana, which is a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And I went into it with a lot of my unhealed traumas that were right at the surface, you know. I was living in Tokyo. I was drinking alcohol every single day. I was working at 4 different universities. I was on rush hour trains in Tokyo, just go, go, go 5 days a week. And then, you know, just getting shit faced on the weekends, basically drunk 7 days a week for a couple of years. And all of this tension, it was all right there. And I went into Vipassana, and of course, it instantly came to the surface. And I stayed in my room. The Vipassana, I don't know if you guys know anything about it, but they wake you at 4 a.m. and at 4:30, you're supposed to be on your cushion in the main hall with everybody for 1 hour. And then they ring the gong. They ring the gong to wake you up. Then, you know, you sit on your cushion and they ring the gong, and you're there for 1 hour, and they ring the gong, and then you've got an hour off for breakfast or showers. There's no eye contact. There's no speaking for the whole 10 days. It's you inside of you, and that's all. Ostensibly. Of course, people do influence you, and I was being very influenced. I was so angry at like everything and everyone. So on day 2 in the afternoon, I stayed in my room. And that morning, I had heard the teacher say, if a thought comes up and distracts you, just breathe in quickly and breathe out quickly and let it go. So I stayed in my room, and I got in the meditation position, and I did this. For a long time. And on the in-breath, I was saying in my mind, in. And on the out-breath, I was saying out. And I just kept doing that. After about 10 minutes, I realized that my saying in and saying out was no longer connected with the actual body that was still breathing on that rhythm. And that's when I broke through to the observer perspective. I developed the third mind, the third perspective. So the body was doing its thing. The mind was saying in, out, in, out. And then I suddenly became aware, oh, I am not the mind that's thinking in out, and I am not the body that's doing the breathing. And I thought, great, continue. So I kept doing that. I started getting a lot of pain in the fingers and in the toes, and the pain was creeping up the legs and creeping up the arms. And I just kept going, kept going. And after a while, the mind stopped saying in, out, in, out. And there was this open, it was the first time I'd not thought in my whole life. But the observer perspective said, keep going. So I kept doing it, and the pain was coming in, and it all converged on my heart. And then it broke open my heart. And all of the hatred and anger and shame and guilt and blame and fear, it all came up and washed over me. I'm sobbing, heaving, crying, seeing every shitty thing I've ever done, seeing every shitty thing everyone has ever done to me. And it was so overwhelming that I decided I had totally ruined this life, and the only way out was to kill myself. And I decided I knew how to do it. The very instant I made that decision, I heard, "Forgive!" And it was shouted into every cell of my body from a voice I had never heard. All right. And so I fell down onto my cot and just blown away by the whole experience. First of all, having ripped open my ego. It wasn't really my heart, it was my ego, my shadow, and all the shit came out. So that was enormous. And I decided to kill myself. And then I heard this voice saying, "Forgive." And I fell onto my cot, and my mother's face came into my mind. And I heard these 4 phrases. "Thank you for all the good. I'm sorry for all the bad. I forgive you for all the bad you've caused me, and I love you." Now, I did not think of those phrases. That's not Crispy saying, "What would you do in this situation?" All right. So then mother's face dissolves, father's face comes in, same 4 phrases. "Thank you for all the good you've given me. I'm so sorry for all the bad that I've given you. I completely forgive you for all the bad you've given me, and I love you." And then my brother and my other brother. And then I realized, like, holy fuck, like, so beyond anything I could ever imagine. And, you know, it was the first real spiritual experience I've ever had. And that was August 13th, 2017, which happens to be tone 10, so manifesting of the glyph called Wise One. And the first key word of this glyph is forgiveness. So that happened to me on Manifesting Forgiveness Day, which I only found out a couple of years later because I hadn't had this vision yet. This came to me after I had that. So essentially, that's what I teach my clients, is that 4-step process of forgiveness. And I made up, I can show it if you want. I made up a contract. Can I pop that up on screen for you?
Sure.
Okay. Now, again, this has nothing to do with the Maya whatsoever. It, you know, although it did happen on manifesting forgiveness where are you? Here you go. Okay, so this is the contract I give to my clients. All right. So clearing karmic contract. This is a formal and official clearing of any and all spiritually binding karmic contracts between myself, and you would write your name there, and whomever you need to clear that with. And then here's the 4 phrases. I honestly thank you for all the lessons, the dark ones and the light ones that you taught me. So I expanded on my experience a little bit. I sincerely apologize for any pain and or suffering that you experienced due to my actions or inactions. I unconditionally forgive you for any pain and or suffering I experienced due to your actions or inactions. I unconditionally love you and set you free from any obligation to me. And I recommend that people print this out and then burn it. And I recommend that they be standing outside barefoot on the ground. Upon burning this paper, our karmic contract is clear, balanced, and over. We are hereby free from any obligation to each other, and yet we may renew our relationship without any karma. And then signed by yourself. So that's part of my package that I give to everyone who I do a Mayan embodiment reading for. It's kind of, like I said, it's not really Mayan at all, but because it did happen to me on that day of manifesting forgiveness, I include it. I also give it away for free to anyone who, you know, I notice on Facebook is expressing discomfort with, you know, anything.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's going to help
You're
people. For people don't understand forgiveness. They don't even know the purpose or the power it has. If for those that don't understand it, it's essentially you rising above, like the opposite of forgiveness is holding a grudge and holding on to the discomfort and wounds that somebody is having over you or yourself, or and just holding on to it and not knowing what to do with it. So it's unresolved. So forgiveness is to resolve, to rise above, to not have those things have power over them anymore. And it's a form of detachment, which is one of the pathways to enlightenment in Buddhism and Hinduism, many other places. As we let go of all the finite and the illusion and the Maya and the external, that as we go deep within, we become our greatest realized self.
Yeah. I'm really, really glad and impressed to hear you have such a strong knowledge about this. Have you experienced your own type of forgiveness? Yeah, I can feel that.
And for those out there that are abuse victims,
Right.
and people that have entered a state where they don't think they can forgive, the very thing that you're unable to do is your salvation, because you are letting go of that thing's or that person's ability to affect you anymore. Whether a lot of abuse victims, I feel like they're still entangled with me. They're still dumping their negative energy. They pretty much are. You have to forgive yourself, forgive them, not for them, but for you to overcome them, as well as it's how you rise beyond suffering.
Yes, exactly. And
Because you are them.
right, and the doctrine of reincarnation enters into that completely. The soul level.
Yes, all these mythos of the judgment day, where for the Egyptian, where you come and they weigh your heart and it has to be as light as a feather. Because of that, all those feelings are very heavy for the heart.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, it's not anymore about the other one, it's about yourself and what you deserve, the freedom you deserve to feel, to embody. And all those things are like lead your energy, because your energy then it's not in you, it's in those situations, in those events, in that people. And as the Mayans would focus in very simple and fundamental aspects of life.
Right.
You know, like having the energy in you and knowing how to use the different challenges offered in every day to
Right.
bring that energy to you, not outside, in
Right.
you.
Yeah,
Well,
and if you aren't prepared to forgive your greatest enemy, or depending on how far you're wanting to ascend, the greatest opposer or whatever, then are you fully integrated with yourself as realized universe, God, whatever?
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the heaviest things on the heart is, resentment and unforgiveness and the mind usually plots revenge at some stage. Those are such heavy energies, overwhelming. They pull you out of the here and now. You're always plotting, thinking about the past and plotting about the future. So it's so keeps you off the ascension path. And when we expand our reality to include reincarnation and therefore the soul, what we must realize is that we chose these situations. We attracted these people to traumatize us so that we could overcome it into an exalted state, into ascension. Once you take that, it's so empowering. It doesn't particularly make it easier, and it's still, painful. Like, I have cried so much. I have used that form about 40 times. And I've done the recapitulation. I've gone back and I've found those names. Who was it, in grade 3, the parents, of course, the brothers, the sisters, and then you can also put on the second line, you could put, the Canadian government or whatever, right? Like, you are clearing up your contracts. It could be, so we talk about these soul contracts that we've made as in a past life with, the Rosicrucians or whatever. Like, you can use that contract. And I also tell my clients to use it with yourself, of course. We need to forgive ourselves. Like, I have done so many shitty things to myself, like drinking. Now I don't drink at all. I quit alcohol. I never say never, but like, why would I drink again? Oh my God, like, I just have no intention of ever drinking alcohol again because it was so associated with my escapism and self-hatred, right? So, on the top line, I used my left hand and I printed my name. On the second line, I wrote my name as perfectly as I could to represent my soul, forgiving my shadow self. And on the bottom line, I signed it. The signature was my freely creative self signature. And I read that out and I burned it, like, I have forgiven myself for everything I did. And it just feels so good, That's why I give that out for free. Like, yes, it's included with Mayan embodiment reading, but I also just, I've given that to so many people on Facebook,
Thank you. And well, I don't know if you want to ask something, and also before going to where people can find you, now that you said about signing with one hand and with the other, it's like asking, like, when you get to or anybody who's watching this transmission, this video, this podcast is if you ask why this happened to me, why, the answer will be given by the ego.
Right.
You want to know why your ego picked one event, you can ask why. If you ask what for, then the reason will be given by your higher consciousness within you, which is the purpose. And that would be very aligned if you take the chart to your past
Yeah.
and your future.
Well, it is quite likely that, you know, a person will have the issue in their past wisdom. It could come from any of these. And like I said, of course, it may have nothing to do with your Mayan birthday at all, right? Especially in cases of abuse, like physical abuse. Now, I do recommend you find out your parents' Mayan birthdays, your siblings. If you know your abuser, find it out. It helps put them on the map, as it were, and it helps inclusion. It helps realize, like, yes, that was a traumatic event, but we are all one, you know, in the past life perspective. Perhaps I was the offender, perhaps I was the torturer, I was the rapist, I was the murderer. Perhaps maybe we did that this time to balance things out. I don't know, maybe true, but it just, that perspective helps sort of soothe the pain of the one pure separate memory, you know, or the many memories. So there's a lot involved, and we are here to heal all of our traumas. That's it, you know. We're here to be fully empowered, fully embodied, and, you know, our divine sovereignty, our sovereign divinity. That's who we are, you know. And until we forgive ourselves and the people who we are entangled with, we cannot become divinely sovereign. That's my opinion. I think it's true.
Agreed. How can people reach you and book a session from your interesting, rare, hard to find reading?
Yeah, I am on Facebook. I have the page called Mayan Embodiment, and on YouTube, I've got Mayan Embodiment is Soul Cartography, and my email is mayan.embodiment.astrology@gmail.com. So I'm out there. I'm not too hard to find.
Other social media platforms or YouTube or videos you do?
Yeah, the YouTube channel has tons of videos. I've got Instagram as well. I think it's just called Mayan Embodiment. I kind of forget right now. But that's it. I don't do any other forms of SNS.
Do you have any events coming up?
No, I haven't done a group session, like, for example, you know, Mayan Embodiment Masterclass. I haven't done that yet. I really want to wait until the book is out and the website is up. Then it'll be so, the platform will be so accessible.
Okay, so plans for the future, and you said book. Any other things like that?
Well, there's actually, I believe it's going to be 3 books. I'm not sure yet. I definitely, the second one is in the pipeline. So, you know, it's a very involved book. It's big and it has a lot of graphics, and I want people to be able to do what I just did today. I want people to be able to do that, so it explains everything. And I haven't found the right publisher yet. Even just to do the layouts is quite complicated, so we're still working on that. But that's it. And then the same process is getting the website up.
What kind of readings do you do? Just this, or like a lot of in the niche aspects of it?
Right. The main thing I do is Mayan embodiment. I also do 2 types of tarot readings. One of them uses the Mayan pattern, that pattern of your core self, and then the 4 guides, and we we go through a reading based on the Mayan template. And then I do another layout that has nothing to do with the Mayan at all. And I've had some rather accurate experiences with those. I really like doing tarot as well. So yeah, Mayan embodiment and tarot readings. The tarot is so much easier. It's just like right here, you know, I set the camera up so they can see the cards and it's just in the moment. Mayan embodiment reading takes me about 4 hours, and then there's usually a 2-hour Zoom. So it's a lot. And I really feel there's a soul connection. Like I tell my clients, like once I do a reading for you, until I die, I will always respond to any question that you have. Maybe even after I don't know.
Lovely.
Valuable.
How do they reach you, Yssah?
Oh, well, my Facebook page, Isha Ars Live, my YouTube channel, Isha Arsate Libien, omnivision.hunuh, omnivision.hunuh at outlook.com, and www.omnivision.hunuh.com.
Cool. And what's your stats, Sean?
Yes.
I am Sean Bond of PsionicLeague.com. I'm Psionic League YouTube with a P. And you can find me also on Facebook for if you want reading, and Instagram and X and all the other platforms. And I got some products up online for teaching superhuman abilities and healing pain, all that kind of stuff. And you can get consultations and readings from me as well. And we'll be doing more events in the future and talking about traveling in Mexico and doing tours in South America and stuff, possibly with Crispy. We'll see in the future.
I would love to manifest that.
Leave it in the comments if you want to see more of these videos with us and Crispy. If you want to bring more of that Mayan wisdom down into the physical for your ears to hear. So yeah, and then smash that like button, share this all around to people that didn't know that this was even a thing. And the more we see of that, the more we will have Crispy on and other guests like him.
Yes. Thank you, Crispy, for your time. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for sharing this beautiful space with such a beautiful and high energy and wisdom, ancient wisdom. We all are connected through different forms of technology. I call it technology to derive all this knowledge. And thank you again. And reach out to us. Crispy is such a beautiful soul that has so much to give, as well as Sean, as well as we are all giving from our heart. So thank you, and looking forward to see you again and to talk to you soon. And thank you, all of you, for watching this transmission. Stay tuned for all the upcoming events.
Yes. Een Lak'esh, Alakin Namaste.
HUNUH.
See you later, everybody.